Thank you so much for coming to join this really long, juicy hips class. Start just by sitting comfortably on your mat. Roll your shoulders down your spine. Rest your hands on your knees or your thighs. And just start with some nice, long, slow, deep breaths. Inhale, fill up your belly, fill up your chest. Exhale, let it all out. Just continue to breathe at your own pace, getting nice and comfortable and ready for meditation. And just come back to the idea of being in your body, experiencing your body. This idea of more than awareness. And notice what comes up for you. What does it mean to be in your body? So there's this quote that's out there. You gotta feel it to heal it. And it sounds great and logical. Things happen to us in our lives, and sometimes it's very painful. Especially as a child, you develop ways to survive. And we take pain or grief or anger, and we tuck it in beautiful little places all around our body. For a long time, for me, coming back into my body was pain, mentally and physically. And then looking at all of these little pockets. And when I felt the pockets, I knew why I chose not to feel it before. It's a very hard decision to decide to feel it now instead of just continue to stuff it. And right here, right now, in this moment, you're safe. So bring your attention to your hips and your pelvis area. And at any time, if this practice feels too much, Shavasana, child's pose, really great alternatives. In the pelvis is our sacral chakra, Svadhisthana. This is a storehouse for our emotions, our hips. A lot of the ones associated with control. Your breath is like your partner through this practice. So as much as you can remember, stay very connected and take long, nice, long, slow, deep breaths. Know that your exhale is like a vehicle for tension, stored emotions, negative feelings, literally for anything that is ready to just leave. So the more you exhale, the more you sigh, the more noise you make with your exhale, the more you are letting go of in this practice. Remember, you're on mute. You literally can be like, ah. And stay present to what is swirling around in your mind. And bring your right knee up into your chest and interlock your fingers over your shin. Then pull your knee towards your chest and then over towards the armpit, bypassing the rib cage. And breathe. Feel the compression in your hip joint. Allow your arms to act as weights. Constantly pulling your knee closer to your armpit, just with gravity as the body allows. Keep your attention to your pelvis and your breath and your mind. And really get still. Bend your left knee, placing the sole of your left foot on the mat, and release your right leg, bringing the right ankle onto the left knee. And using the strength of your leg, push the right knee away from your body. Flex the right foot. You have the option to stay right here, or you can bring your left knee in towards your chest and interlock the fingers behind your thigh. Keep your right foot flexed and your right knee pushing away from your body. Just notice where your mind is and bring it back to your breath. Release your left foot back down to the mat. Keep your legs just as they are and let them fall over to the left. And try to keep both of your shoulder blades on the mat. You have the option to keep your head in neutral, or you can turn your head to look over your right shoulder. Stay connected to your breath, to your thoughts, and to your pelvis. How still can you stay in your posture?
And bring your head back into center. Engage your core. Bring your knees back into center. Bring your right knee into your chest and take a hold of the outer edge of the foot. Bring the sole up towards the ceiling and then pull the knee back down to the mat. So you're in half happy baby with the right foot. And walk that left leg out and away from you if it feels good. Breathe. Keep coming back to your breath. Stay really connected to your breath and really connected to your body here. Just finding stillness and taking note or experiencing that part of you that wants to move or adjust. Release your right foot down to the mat and bring it long. Reach your arms up over your head. Stretch your arms and your legs away from each other. Full body stretch. And bring your left knee into your chest. Interlock your fingers around your shin. Pull your knee up towards your chest and then over towards the armpit. We are governed by the pleasure principle. It's instituted as like a survival mechanism. You lean into what feels good and you lean away from what doesn't. And recognizing that it isn't caveman days. This is a whole new level for us. because different things feel different at different times. So sometimes a hip yoga practice doesn't necessarily feel good. But sometimes a glass of wine feels good, and sometimes 8 glasses of wine feels good. And the morning after doesn't. So this pleasure principle acts as a double-edged sword. It can actually like feed into our addictive tendencies. And the same happens in life. When something feels uncomfortable, it almost feels like a natural bodily reaction to just step back into comfort. And you can. Most of the people that I talk to don't want to be in that space. And really, it's the discomfort that is your growth edge. And it applies to the practice of yin. Discomfort is really where you make a big difference in your flexibility. Bend your right knee, bringing the right foot onto the mat, and bring your left ankle onto your right knee. Using the strength of your leg, push your left knee away from your body. Breathe. Keep the left foot flexed. This protects your knee joint. Option to stay here or bring your right knee in towards your chest and interlock your fingers behind your right thigh. Keep the left foot flexed and the left knee pushing away from the body. Breathe. Release your right foot back down to the mat and let the legs fall over to the right. Option to keep your head in neutral or turn your head to look over your left shoulder. So physically, here's what happens in your body with stillness. It takes about 1.5 minutes for the nervous system to slow down. So the nervous system is always on guard. Do we need to run? Do we need to freeze? Do we need to fight? This is how, we can touch something hot and have the hand removed before we've even registered that we're burnt. There's this idea of the nervous system being on all the time. So, it has like red alert and orange alert and yellow alert. And after about 1.5 minutes of stillness, the nervous system actually slows down. Those signals that are kind of always going back and forth for feedback, they slow down a little. They make their way from red or orange to yellow. So that means that the muscles relax a little bit. Because the muscles, they really like to steal the stretch. But muscles are like an elastic band. So if you stretch out a muscle or an elastic band and then you let it go, it kind of snaps back into place, right? And when the muscles chill out a bit, we actually get to move into the connective tissues, the tendons and the ligaments and the fascia. And the fascia, it's more like silly putty. When you take silly putty and you pull it apart slowly, it doesn't snap back into place. Generally, it stays pretty much as long as you pulled it. And in yin, in flexibility, in stillness, this is what we're going for. Remodeling your connective tissue. And in this gentle, slow stillness of stretching out connective tissue, of relaxing the muscles, how can you not release tension? How can you not let go of some of the stuff you've had stored in your body? It's like as if your muscles have been making fists, like really holding those emotions in there, really hanging on to them. And here is an opportunity to actually let go of your grip. And as the feelings and the sensations come up, if they do, that doesn't mean that you will feel anything emotionally. If it does, acknowledge it. You feel emotion, whatever it is, notice it. Give it some time, give it some space. Breathe. Let go, feel. Bring your head back into center. Engage the core. Bring your knees back into center. Half happy baby on the other side. Bring the knee towards the mat. Grab a hold of the outer edge of the foot, sole towards the ceiling. And keep your right knee bent or walk it away until it's flat. And really feel the weight of your arm consistently and gradually pulling the knee closer to the mat. So as your hip allows, it goes a little bit deeper. But there's like a trick to stillness, and it's called finding your edge. If you go into the posture as deep as you possibly can, or even deeper than you should with quotes, it's really hard to hold the pose for very long. You will be uncomfortable and you'll start wiggling and adjusting. So there's this idea of your 80%. You haven't quite gone all the way in. You can feel the stretch. There's room for you to go deeper. And as you hold it, all this connective tissue will start to slowly spread or stretch. And all of a sudden, your edge can be deeper. So breathe. And as mentioned, stay connected to that part of you that wants to readjust, that wants to pull you back into comfort. Bend your right knee and bring your right leg into happy baby as well. So you're doing a full happy baby. Notice how you feel in this posture. Notice where and what you feel in this posture. And then bring your knees into your chest. Hug them in. Bring your forehead up to touch your kneecaps. Squeeze your body around your spine. Release your head back down to the mat. Cross your ankles. Take a hold of your big toes and start spinal rolls. So just moving up and down the spine, rolling back and forth. And eventually rolling all the way up and over onto all fours. And plant your palms below your shoulders and your knees below your hips. And untuck your toes. Put the weight into the tops of your feet. Inhale, bring your belly towards the mat. Look up at the ceiling. Exhale, push into your hands. Arch your back, point the top of your head at your mat. And just continue to flow with your breath. Inhaling through cow. And exhaling through cat. One more round. On your next breath, come back to center and just start to make circles with your hips. So alternating where the most weight is, move from knee, bringing the hips back to the other knee, over to the side, up forward into one hand, and then over into the other hand. Just making really big circles with your body, or anything else that feels really good to you in this posture. And then switch sides. Make your way over to the other side, switching the weight in the opposite direction. And come back onto all fours and take your right leg, put the weight into the left knee, and take the right foot out to the side. So it might be kind of in line with your right hand, it might be somewhere in the middle, but the foot is off the mat and the knee is bent. And now continue to make those circles. Move forward to the side, back into the side, really getting into and exploring that right hip joint. Change directions. Come back to center and switch sides. Bring the right knee down to the mat, put the weight into the right knee. Left foot steps forward. And start to make circles on this side. Really feeling into and exploring the left hip. And switch directions. And come back onto all fours. Walk your hands forward just a bit, tuck your toes under, and lift your hips up for downward facing dog. Keep a bend in the knees. Spread your fingers wide, putting the weight into the hands where the fingers meet the palms. So really pushing into your knuckles. Alternate the bend in your knee. Walking out your dog. Warming up the backs of your legs. Inhale, bring your right leg up into the air behind you, and exhale, stack your hips one on top of the other. And bend the top leg and look under the right armpit. Breathe. Inhale, bring the right leg up into the air behind you once again, and exhale, bring the right knee to the right wrist on the mat. Foot over towards the left, and then turn to look over your left shoulder. Walk that left leg back behind you, and then make sure it's nice and straight. Look at your ankles. So something that can happen is if the toes are in towards the midline of the body, that's called sickling your ankle. Straighten it out. Put the weight evenly into the top of the foot. Plant your palms, inhale, lengthen. And you have an option to stay right here, or you can start to fold forward. Lots of options for you here. In Yin, all the postures have a different name than they do in Yang yoga. So while this is pigeon in a normal yoga class, this is called swan or sleeping swan in Yin. And the premise behind the different names is so that you know that they're actually different postures. In a Yang class, we want you engaged. We want you in proper alignment. And in a Yin class, you can let go of all of that. No engagement. Complete and utter release. And remember to find your edge. So if you're all out in pigeon or sleeping swan right now, this is going to be a long few minutes. So, the idea is that you don't ever want to move in Yin. But there are 2 times when moving is like acceptable. And the first one is if you're in pain. So it's really important to discern in your body the difference between pain and discomfort. And the second acceptable movement in Yin is if you're going to go a little bit deeper. So that's after you've found your edge and breathed into it for a bit. Your body just opens up. The fascia stretches, the muscles release their grip. And you can go deeper. So stay present. Stay present to your hips, your pelvis, your breath, and your mind. Where are you right now? One more breath here. And plant your palms, slowly coming up. And just lean over onto your right hip and bring your left leg forward. And take your time. Really move slowly, move gently, and bring your left leg up on top of your right leg. So as we move into square pose, the idea is that your lat makes a square. Okay, so that would look like ankles and knees in alignment, feet engaged or flexed. And that you can draw a circle you can draw a circle with your square. So the right leg is on the bottom and the shin is parallel. And then the left leg is on top. And if this is like, what are you even talking about? My body does not work that way. Bring the right leg out in front of you nice and long. And keep the left ankle on the knee. And breathe. Roll your shoulders down your spine, close your eyes. Like, really, what are these things that are our hips? What are the sensations that you're feeling in both of them right now? What's tight? What's restricting? What's holding on? What can you let go of? Something that I noticed with myself, I love the practice of yin. Yet I started to realize like I'm a yoga rager. Like when I'm in yin, I want to like I hate the world. I want to beat up the teacher. I don't like the person beside me. I don't like the person in front of me. I don't like the government. Everything comes to me and I just want to rage and lose my mind. I like scream inside my head, like, how long are we going to hold this? And a lot of aggression goes towards my teacher, definitely. So if you're feeling that, that's okay. I got you. Wendy used to say to me, she'd look at me and be like, are we broken up? And I'd be like, yes. And then at the end of class in Shavasana, she'd be like, are we back together? I'm like, yes. I love you. And I just get so agitated trying to like hold this stillness. What is that? And then being a yoga teacher, like how bad am I that I'm a yoga rager? How bad am I sometimes that I really just can't sit still? Like this is too much. But I always come back to a Jack Cornfield quote that said that, yoga and meditation, they don't make you angry. They allow you to recognize that there's anger in your body or rage or grief. And recognizing those things in your body is an opportunity to then release it. So really focus on your breath here and connect. this constant feedback is beauty. Are you going too deep? Is this just an area that's like a wound and does not want salt poured on it? Like, what is it for you here? And for all the moments. Breathe. Acknowledge the fidgety, agitated part of you, or the part that's totally able to be calm in this moment. And then take a hold of both of your ankles with your hands. And pull your knees so that there's one above the other. So the left leg is still on top, right leg on the bottom. The feet come out to the side, and the goal is, one knee right on top of the other. That's the goal. And then the feet in towards the thighs. And bring your attention back to your body. Now we will practice the greatest yoga trick known to man. So keep your feet right where they are. And come up, roll onto your knees and come up onto your hands. And then step into your feet. Okay? And then start to move over to the right. Walk your hands around the left foot Coming all the way around. Keep going to the right. Keep going so that you're now coming across the right foot and then back in front of you. Your legs are twisted in the opposite direction. Come back down onto your bum. Now you're in cow face on the other side. So just in case anybody is like, what? We can do it one more time or stay right where you are. So the right leg was on the bottom and the left leg was on the top. And, you know, I know that a lot of time people will be like, oh, I didn't get it the first time, so they stop. But I encourage you, if you didn't get it, give it a try. Right leg on the bottom, left leg on the top. And then roll up onto your knees. So hands out in front of you. Now you're on your knees and your feet are out to either side. And then tuck the toes and lift your hips up. So your legs are like awkwardly crossed, right? Now turn to the right. Keep turning to the right and just keep going towards the right, the right, the right, the right, the right, the right. And you're pivoting on the balls of your feet. And then come back, facing forward. Keep going, keep going. And again, the eventual goal is one knee right on top of the other and then both the feet in towards the body. But that's the eventual goal for really bendy people. So if it's not really happening, that's okay. The feet can come out. Like there's many modifications or variations to this. And you do want to be sitting though on both of your sits bones. Connect back to your breath, back to your pelvis, back to your mind. Instead of just being aware of the stretch in your hips, can you experience the stretch in your hips? Notice if you're fidgeting or wiggling or moving. Come back to stillness. And then start to move the left knee out to the side a little and the right knee out to the side. Again, coming into square pose so that your hip or your lap is somewhat resembling a square. So eventual goal is ankles and knees in line with one another. Keep the feet flexed. Always an option to straighten out the left leg. Breathe. One more breath. Lean over onto the left hip and bring the right leg out to the side and back behind you. Coming into swan on the other side. So look over your right shoulder and make sure that the right leg is long behind you. Make sure you're putting weight into the top of your foot. Plant your palms and inhale and lengthen your spine. And option to come into any version of the swan. So you can stay up and propped, or you can start to fold onto your elbows, all the way onto your belly, whatever feels good to you in the moment where you feel a bit of the stretch. So remember, don't go too deep. It'll be a really uncomfortable few minutes for you. Breathe into your hips. What are you feeling? What are you experiencing in this moment? In your body? Lift your head, plant your palms, and slowly come back up. Tuck the back toes, and then very, very slowly step back into downward facing dog. Take your time. Pedal out the legs, pedal out the feet, and then come down onto all fours. So right now in front of you is your short edge of the mat, and then beside you is the long edge of the mat. So I'm going to get you to turn so you're facing the long edge of your mat. And I'm going to turn so that my bum is facing the camera, just so you can see what to do with your legs. So on all fours, bring your knees out as wide as you can, and bring your ankles so that they're in line with your knees, feet pointing outwards and away from each other. And then come down onto your elbows. Frog pose. Feel free to readjust any way that feels good to you. So maybe you went too far, and as you think about holding this for 2 minutes, you want to die. Maybe then come back in a little closer, knees closer to one another. You can stay on your elbows, or you can come down onto your chest. And breathe. Notice if you're gripping or have any parts of your body engaged here, and let them go. Let go of the muscles. Breathe into your groins. And breathe into your outer hips. Again, just connect to that part of you that maybe wants to get out of this pose.
And bring your toes so that they're pointing in towards one another. And then plant your palms on the ground and slowly come up. Take your time bringing your knees back towards one another. And then turn once again to face the short edge of your mat. Take your knees out as wide as your mat and bring your big toes together. And push your hips all the way over your heels. So you're sitting on your heels. And then walk your hands out in front of you, bringing your chest and your head down towards the mat. Come into extended child's pose. Totally release here. Lift your head, bend your elbows, walking your hands below your shoulders. Take your time. Come up onto all fours. Cross your ankles behind you. Sit down on your mat, bring your legs down in front of you. And come down onto your back. Bend your knees and walk your heels towards your bum. Bring your arms alongside your body with your palms face down. And put the weight into your feet. Lift your hips up into the air.
Keep your knees pulling in towards one another and squeeze your bum. Lift up nice and high. Option to interlock the fingers behind your back, rolling your shoulders down your spine, and push your arms into the mat. Breathe. Release the hands if they are grasping onto one another. And then slowly start to round the spine, bringing it back down to the mat. Tailbone touches last. Bring the soles of the feet together. Let the knees fall open. And bring both of your hands to rest on your lower belly. And feel free to keep your legs where they are or to walk them away from you until they're straight. Let the feet fall open. Let your arms fall on the mat, palms face up. And take a really deep breath in all the way to the bottom of your lungs. And let it out with a sigh.
Take all of the thoughts that you have in your head right now and just allow them to ooze out of the crown of your head onto your mat and away from you. Start to relax your body, beginning with the top of your head. Relax your forehead and feel your eyes grow wide. Feel your eyes sink into the back of your head. Relax your cheeks. Relax your jaw and let the tongue fall from the roof of your mouth. Relax your throat and your neck. Let any tension ooze out of the tops of your shoulders, onto your mat, and away from you. Relax the muscles that run along your spine. Relax your arms and your wrists and your hands. Relax your chest and your abdomen and let your hips be wide. Relax your thighs and your knees, your shins, your calves, your ankles, and your feet. Stay here as long as you need. Have an amazing day, and thank you so much for allowing me to guide you through your practice. From my heart and hips to yours. Namaste.